Robusta is gaining popularity on the global market. In the 1990s, Robusta accounted for about a quarter of global production. Nowadays, it's almost 44%. Currently, Vietnam accounts for more than a third of the world's total Robusta production. But Brazil has been ramping up its Robusta production and exports. Joining me today, Market Intelligence Manager Fernando Maximiliano. Thank you for joining us, Fernando.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'd like to start off with a bit of history. The commercial trade of Arabica started about 500 years ago. Significant developments of Robusta didn't start until the 20th century, early 20th century, when Robusta saved the day. So talk me through this.
Okay, so well, different from Arabica. Arabica, actually, both species are from Africa, but Arabica is from the region we know now as Ethiopia, and Robusta is from a region, Central Africa, Western region of Africa, countries as we know now as Congo or Uganda. And but by late 19th century, we had a leaf rust problem in Asia, and then Robusta coffee started to be spread throughout the world at that moment. But the commercial production only started later on. Uh, for Brazil, for example, the first seedlings of Robusta coffee came into Espírito Santo by 1920, and for Vietnam, the start of the production started in 1980. So it took a while for the production to become a very large and commercial, but it all started because Robusta has different characteristics compared to Arabica. So it can stand better with the diseases and weather conditions that Arabica cannot stand. And of course, there are differences in terms of weather conditions that the Robusta coffee tree can face that Arabica cannot.
Okay, so more resistance to diseases can't explain alone this increase in production. What are the other advantages in growing Robusta coffee plants?
Well, first of all, Robusta coffee is more adapted to grow on lower altitude areas. So when we talk about Arabica, you need at least 500 meters of altitude to grow Arabica. But to be honest, the quality, you need to at least 800 meters. The Robusta, no, you can grow a Robusta below that altitude. And for example, for north of Espírito Santo, which is the largest Robusta producer, the average for most regions is around 200 meters above sea level. So it's very low altitude. And of course, when you're looking at that altitude, you're looking at higher temperatures. And also the Robusta coffee is more competitive in terms of production, in terms of yield, in terms of cost of production, and there are other characteristics. It has a higher content of caffeine, so it's different, has a different flavor. It's well used in the instant coffee production, soluble coffee industry. So there are differences that make the Robusta coffee more competitive. And so that's the reason we're seeing the growth of the use and the growth of the production of this type of coffee in the world.
So when we look at global production, Vietnam is the #1 Robusta producer, but Brazil is actively ramping up its Robusta production too, right?
Yeah, so well, Vietnam started their production in the 80s, as I said, but the production just ramped up in the 1990s because of structural changes they had in the country and the United States lifting the sanctions on the country. So since 1990s, the production increased a lot, and Vietnam became the largest Robusta coffee producer and exporter in the world. But Brazil is growing since the 20s. Brazil's Robusta production is growing due to many things. We can highlight the investment of the government agencies on research. So the yield of Robusta coffee production in Brazil used to be very low, and after all of those years, decades of research, we have varieties, we have clones that have a very high yield productivity. There are other things as well. More recently, we can highlight um, the investments on the coffee. And here I'm gonna stop and explain another thing. So as coffee and any other commodity, we have what we call the commodity cycle. So the commodity cycle is you see prices rising because usually consumption is growing faster than the production. And then when prices are rising, you see farmers willing to invest more in the production. And then at some time in the future, you'll see production growing faster than consumption. And then prices would fall and would be under pressure. So when we look at that, for the past couple of years, we are when we look at the robusta specifically, we are on the high cycle. So we're seeing prices increasing. Of course, there are a bunch of things happening. There are weather issues. Vietnam had problems due to El Nino and all of that. But we saw, and we're seeing high prices for coffee, and this is contributing to farmers to invest more all over the world. But Brazil specifically, the farmer, different from other countries, Brazil's farmers, they take the farm as an industry. So they have a very specific procedures so they can have a higher yield and, of course, being more competitive. If you have a larger production, you dilute the cost to have a higher competitive. You're more competitive. So, for example, and let's compare Arabica and Robusta as well. So for Brazilian Robusta Arabica production, depending on the year, you have a yield of 23, 24, 25, maybe 27 bags per hectare. For the Robusta, we have between 65 to 70 this year, for example. So it's more than double the yield of the Robusta. And when you are talking about the high production areas, so let's say Arabica, which in our area well treated, you can have on average, because we have, of course, the on and off year, you could have on average 40 bags per hectare, let's say 45 bags per hectare. That's very good Arabica areas. I've seen Robusta at 200 bags per hectare. So the yield is much, much higher. And then, therefore, we have a much higher it's more competitive worldwide. And this condition happens when you compare to Brazil to other countries. Also, when we are talking about investments, farmers in Brazil are investing a lot on the Robusta production. So we're seeing a expansion area. We're seeing investments in automated irrigation systems, automated fertilization systems, in the crop protection technology, for example, crop spraying. So we're using drones, and all of that leads to higher yield and again making the Brazilian coffee more competitive in the world. So those are the reasons we're seeing Brazil growing so fast, and we believe soon Brazil will be the top Robusta producer in the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your analysis, Fernando. Great to catch up.
Thank you very much.
For more videos like this, please do like and subscribe.